On June 8, 2012, 25-year-old Chinese exchange student Yuan Shitang desperately called the Vancouver Police Department in Canada, claiming that Vancouver is the most beautiful city in the province due to its majestic mountains, sparkling ocean, and rainforest greenery, as well as its excellent education and lucrative employment prospects. They booked a B&B 20 days before visiting her son, Yuan Shitang, at Douglas College in Canada, and had several arrangements to spend time together. Dang Zihui and Lian Xie returned home on June 7, 2012, following a wonderful time with her kid. Yuan eagerly showed his parents his new city. Yuan said he picked up his parents from the rented flat on the morning of their trip. As there was still time, he let his father sleep in and took his mother out for breakfast. He loaded their bags into his car, while his mother observed from the window after returning to the B&B. Dang Zihui was divided between going home and hunting for his wife, but Yuan promised him it must have been a mix-up and that he would actively search for her and send her home when he found her. The airport announced their flight's boarding without her. Dang Zihui arrived at his destination after a 13-hour trip of bewilderment and worry, but his seat was still empty and he couldn't find his mother. The police began searching for Lian Xie the following morning when Yuan informed them. They found nothing suspicious when they arrived. Instead, authorities assumed Lian Xie was unlawfully staying in Canada and did not want to go home. Yuan's family was wealthy due to their profitable furniture delivery business, which served clients from the US, Europe, and Southeast Asia. Dang Zihui often visited his son on business trips. Lian Xie Guo had no known addiction, mental illness, affairs, or adversaries. Therefore, she had no reason to illegally stay in Canada. This notion was invalidated when Lian Xie's money, passport, and handbag were found in Yuan's car, prompting suspicions that she was kidnapped. Yuan sought his mother. To uncover more about his mother's disappearance, he spoke with reporters, distributed leaflets, and held news conferences. His father soon returned to Vancouver to assist in the investigation and search for his wife. The public, especially the Chinese community, was moved by the story of the father and son, who were desperate to find their loved one. Many locals volunteered in the search efforts, while the police continued their investigation. But for days, the search yielded no results. Yuan booked an accommodation in the same B&B as his parents but never told the authorities. Police assumed Yuan lived in his own apartment and visited his parents occasionally throughout their stay. He appeared to be staying next door the whole time. He told cops, "You didn't ask me, I didn't say." He justified renting a B&B room by saying he wanted to spend as much time as possible with his parents. Yet this did not show Yuan's involvement in his mother's disappearance. Investigators also saw that Yuan was downplaying his English-speaking skills and avoiding queries, which seemed odd given his 6 years of study in Canada. Yuan was investigated now. His story had another oddity. He initially informed the police that his mother went missing from the B&B alone, but later amended his tale to say they went to breakfast and she disappeared. He changed his story yet again and said she disappeared from his residence. Dang Zihui questioned Yuan's lies. Yuan said he did this to protect his landlord from legal difficulties. So his landlord unjustly divided the rent and did him a favor by not bringing the police into his unit. Despite the flimsy justification, Dang Zihui wanted to find his wife rather than argue with his son. Cops dug deeper for clues. The B&B tenants in Richmond, Vancouver reported the family got along well when questioned. They ran out of evidence. 2 weeks later, Dang Zihui and Yuan indicated they could not rule out a negative event in a news conference. They hoped Lian Xie was safe and would return soon. Investigators favored homicide over disappearance at the moment. As they searched the B&B, they found blood on Yuan's room's ceiling, walls, closet, and nightstand. The bed had a huge dried blood spot. The lab couldn't identify the blood's owner. The blood evidence wasn't enough to arrest Yuan. Detectives wanted to search Yuan's residence, but didn't have enough for a search warrant. Lian Xie disappeared 1.5 months earlier on July 20, 2012. The same day, authorities received a complaint about a bag with human remains on a beach near Harwood Island, 6 hours from Vancouver. The police found a middle-aged Asian woman dead. Her attire reminded officers of the missing Lian Xie Guo. An autopsy proved this. She died from several blows to the head and inner spine, and 5 steel nails with Chinese words were found, consistent with Lian Xie, since she had had spinal surgery recently. Genetic tests confirmed the corpse as 47-year-old Lian Xie Guo. Unfortunately, there was no surveillance cameras near her body, so no one knows who dropped the bag on the shore. Meanwhile, RCMP took over the case and strategized to go undercover, neither disclosing nor informing Yuan of the discovery. An undercover Chinese female police officer called Yuan in August 2012 and stated she had information regarding his mother. The Cantonese-speaking cop told Yuan at a Starbucks that she had found his mother's remains in a suitcase near the water, but hadn't told the police yet. She would remove it if Yuan paid up, but she gave him 2 days to think about it or she would call the police. Yuan called her up that night to agree with her demands, and in the next meeting she introduced him to 2 more undercover cops who told him that getting rid of a body was easy for them if he gave them money. They claimed that one of their team members was dying from cancer and could be the fall guy if all the details of the murder were supplied to them. But Yuan had no money to give them, so instead he made a shocking proposal. If they killed his father, he'd pay them. The undercover cops accepted his proposal but wanted details. Yuan fell for this well-planned trap and told them everything. Yuan was the only son of Foshan couple Tang Qihui and Lian Se Guo, who managed a profitable 10 million yen business. Lian Xi's strength helped the business. She needed control, especially over her son, a tiger mama. Lian Xie investigated Yuan's job and love life and was responsible for his separation with his high school girlfriend. Lian Xie managed the family's money and Yuan's pocket money. In 2006, his parents forced 19-year-old Yuan to study hotel management at Douglas Community College in Canada. They wanted him to establish his own identity and expand the family business. Yuan felt lonely in a distant nation and oppressed by his mother. Their emotional abuse twisted Yuan, and his peers grumbled about his mother. Yuan lied to his parents to get money to gamble and party instead of studying. His grades were too low for college. He worked part-time in a Vancouver Chinese restaurant kitchen to cover his bills, despite his student visa prohibiting him to work in Canada. His Chinese family was oblivious of his actions as he made $850 a month. He visited his relatives in China for the holidays in 2011. He met a woman. He proposed to her quickly. His mother found a better match for him. According to her standards, this devastated him. After graduation, most of his classmates returned to China and his circle of friends shrank. He wanted to travel to China to be with his fiancée. His father encouraged him to continue when he told him he felt imprisoned in Canada. His fiancée became pregnant with what he thought was his child, but had an abortion. This pushed him over the edge. His parents visited Canada in May 2012. He rented Richmond B&B rooms for himself and his parents. He said they couldn't remain at his shared apartment. He also rented an automobile. Despite growing tensions, he showed his parents Vancouver. He wanted to be rid of them. Yuan put a B&B toolbox hammer in his backpack. On June 7th, Yuan spread some coins on his bed and invited his mother to the room on the pretense of helping him clean it up. When Lian Xie knelt to clean it, he beat her on the head with the hammer, and when she struggled, he covered her head with a sheet and struck twice more to make sure she was dead. He debated killing his father too. After a few minutes, he decided not to do it, because if they both disappeared together, he would be suspected. He persuaded his father to return to China. After destroying the proof, Yuan cleaned up the B&B. Yuan must now play the nice son. Yuan reported her missing as a worried son. He reenacted the incident after telling the undercover investigators. His secret was about to be revealed. Investigators had more evidence than ever before. However, they decided to slow down and gather more evidence against Yuan to support a tale. A blood-stained leased automobile was found quickly. Yuan's flat storage room had flame traces and blood. 3 months after his mother's disappearance, Yuan Xitang was arrested for murder. He was also charged with plotting to assassinate his father. Tang Qihui's life was turned upside down when the news broke in China about Yuan's arrest, prompting his immediate return to Canada. He couldn't believe his son had murdered his mother. Yuan, though, expressed no sorrow for his actions. "She's been restraining me. My parents control me forever. Everyone dies eventually." Yuan's long-term intention to assassinate his parents was revealed. Since Canada had no death penalty, he waited for them to arrive. He misjudged Canadian law enforcement and overestimated his own intelligence. Tang Qihui supported his son during the trial. Despite Yuan's evil conduct and planning, he had forgiven him and spent most of his riches on Yuan's legal defense. He lost his wife and he couldn't lose his only son. "Despite his many crimes in Iran, I'll forgive you. If you die, I won't live." Tang Qihui knew his wife would grasp his explanation from heaven. He appealed for leniency for his son in court as a prosecution witness. stating Yuan was a fine man before their severe upbringing ruined everything. The court disagreed and found him guilty after a protracted trial. Finally, on February 2, 2015, the Supreme Court of Canada sentenced Yuan Shitang to life in prison for the second-degree murder of his mother and attempted murder of his father, with parole eligibility after 17 years. This complicated control and betrayal case is one of the most controversial and disappointing in recent Canadian history. The perpetrator was punished, but a family was ruined. Hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more mysteries like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.